Hey, 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 how's everyone doing? This is Mark Sams and Malachi Kelly, co-founders of CCS Property Management and Property Sourcing Secrets, and the
Hi,
creators
everyone.
of, how you doing, and the creators of the O5 Reverse Property Sourcing Method. Okay, so last week was absolutely amazing. We talked about opportunity side of reverse properties, sorry, the options side of reverse property sourcing. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a review of what we went through last week. And I'm not going to dig deep into it. I'm just going to touch on some of the topics. And if you want to know more, what would go into, make sure you log into the members area. The training is up in the members area. I believe I believe the training is up in the members area. Is that correct, Malachi?
Yeah, it's available in the member areas right now.
It's made available in the members area. So yeah, get in there and check that out. All right, so let's put the presentation on and let's get into it.
1 second.
Did we send out an email just to let everybody know it's starting?
We did.
Perfect. Are we double recording it?
Just, I am not double recording.
Ding dings. We should be all right anyway. Cool. All right. So, as I said, last week we talked about the options aspect of the O5 reverse property sourcing secrets method, right? So, what we're going to do today, we're going to be talking about the opportunity side of it. We're going to be going into like things around the calculations, how to weigh up your opportunities and stuff like that. But what I want to do is what should we do first? I want to review what we did last week. Then I actually got something quite interesting to talk about. I want to talk about a case study of one of our clients and what they've done and some of the results they've got. We're talking about a client that took one of our leads and created a 30 grand profit opportunity. I'm talking 30 grand profit opportunity through working with one of our leads, right? So I want to talk about that, but I'm going to review what we did last week, and then we're going to we'll do a quick case study, and then we're going to go into the educational side of opportunities, understanding opportunities and how they all work. So let's just quickly review what we did last week. So last week we talked about options, and really what this was an introduction really into the O5 reverse property sourcing method, okay? And it was module 1, and it was about options, about the options that you have. So the word that we used as our acronym was reverse. And the reason for that is because it breaks down what is different about the way that we approach property and stuff like that. Because the reason why what we do is different is because we dug deep into property and we started learning how property works and getting properties ourselves and managing properties and stuff like that. And one of the key things that we started to notice is that from all the different education that we was getting and different supposed gurus and stuff like that. I remember I always say, I'm not your guru, right? I'm just somebody that's out there doing it. Me and Malachi are just somebody that's out there doing it, right? So the key difference is that what we've done with this is all to do with our experience in actually going out there and making stuff happen, and what we've learned, and we've created a system. We've basically broken down all of our trial and our errors and all the things that didn't work and did work, and we're going through that now. So that's how this system has come about. It's come about from being in the trenches and actually working out what works for us, and not just listening to what we've been taught through different courses, and actually what actually makes sense to us. So we talked about reverse, and each letter has like a meaning. So the first thing was that you have to realize what your options are when it comes to generating leads for your property business. So it's just really about understanding all the different options. What strategies are there? Are you going to be doing buy to let? Are you going to be doing rent to rent? Are you going to be doing lease options? Are you going to be doing flips? What is it that you're going to be doing? Understanding what the options are, what your options are in relation to generating leads. Like, are you going to be doing landlord leads? Are you going to be sending letters out to landlords? Are you going to be going with estate agents? Are you going to be scouring online. You're going to be using services like ourselves, where you actually get the leads ready to go and ready to actually call, ready to call them and actually book viewings where they're waiting for you to call them. It's understanding what your options are and making decisions based on that. The next step is evaluate. I'm sorry, experience. Okay, so it's about understanding how to get from where you are now to closing 3 property deals a month consistently, right? So why this is important is because what we found is that there's so many people out there that are going through courses, going through training, right? But the problem is that they're going through this training, and once they've finished it, they have all this knowledge in their head, but they haven't built up the actual experience of actually going out there and making stuff happen. And they're getting stopped because some of the marketing methods and marketing training that they're given in regards to how to work with vendors, how to get out to landlords and stuff like that is fundamentally flawed, or it's just not getting them the results they want. So it's about understanding what it takes to build a pipeline of leads, landlords that you're talking to, building relationships. Now, I'm going to use this word relationships, and it's going to tie very much into what we're going to talk about when we talk about the case study in a minute, because relationships are key. This industry, to me, as much as it's important to understand the basics and the fundamentals of why it works, it's about relationships you have with landlords, relationships you have with your investors, relationships you have with your peers, people that could bring potential opportunities to you. It's very important, and you've got to understand. You've got to understand how that works, so that you can start bringing in consistent deals. And your experience, the experience that you get through picking up the telephone and talking to landlords, putting offers out to landlords is super important. You have to make sure you know what is going on from that perspective. 2 seconds. Okay, next we're going to talk about viral. And when we're talking about viral, this is the most effective way to get consistent flow of opportunities to contact. Now, what we talked about is that, look, obviously we're biased. We believe that what we do is the best way of getting motivated landlords. Like, we are experienced marketers. Our background is in marketing. We didn't start off in property. Our background's in marketing. We've both worked with 6 figures, even 7-figure businesses where we've been running marketing campaigns, paid advertising, organic campaigns. And that's what our background is in. So we understand what it takes to create messaging that really speaks to people, to create a big idea that captures people's attention and gets them to want to work with you, right? Gets people to actually want to call us, give us details about their property, and for us to pass that on to you. Okay, so we believe that what we do is the most effective way of doing that. However, we're not naive enough to say that, oh, we're the only way. There are other things. I've mentioned it before. There are sending out landlord letters, and at the end of the day, they do work. Yeah, it's just a slower process. Okay, but like, you just like this, it works as well. So it's like, look at what we talked about last week, and as I say, go into this in the training area. I'm not going to go into this in full depth today, but what we talked about last week was that what you've got to do is you've got to use all of them. Don't just use one, use all of them. Work out what works best for you and focus on those areas. Do landlord letters, work with estate agents, use our leads, okay? Use the leads, get on the phone, talk to landlords, book viewings, get out to viewings, make stuff happen, put stuff in the pipeline, yeah? So that when you're talking to landlords, what you'll find happens is, and this goes back to relationships, yeah? When you follow up and you build good relationships with landlords that have more than one property, okay? They're gonna, once you build a good relationship with them, they're gonna let you manage all of their properties or control all of their properties, or they're gonna give you opportunities to actually buy certain of their properties, okay? In addition to that as well, what you're gonna what's gonna happen as well is that if you do a really good job for a landlord, that landlord is gonna mention you and recommend you to their friends, because what do you think? Landlords have other landlord friends, right? And landlords are gonna tell more of their people about you and what it is that you do. So make sure you come at them professional, make sure you create a viral effect around what your business is about, okay? Next is about evaluation, and the most effective when it comes to evaluation, you're going to learn how to spread your net wider and get paid up to £3,000 or more for your efforts. And as I said, go into the training from there. Like you've got to make sure you're going through this training. It's literally, it's only an hour. We try our best to keep to an hour for each module, so that it's not something where you're like, oh my gosh, this is getting boring. Like this, we try our best to keep to that, so that you've got a very compact, no fluff, educational piece of content that will really help you. Okay, but evaluate is super important, because what it's about understanding how do you make the best opportunities out of what it is that you have, because you don't want to be restricted to just saying to yourself, oh, I've only got this deal to be able to work with because I only work within this area and stuff like that, or how do I make this particular deal work? What you've got to understand is that with the deals and the leads that we have coming in, you don't have to take them all on yourself. What you can do is you can take on those deals, you can get the deal to a point of where you've got an agreement in principle with the landlord, and then you can actually get that out, put that back to us, and actually have one of our investors buy that lead off of you, and you can get a deal fee for that. Okay, certain things that you need to have in place to be able to do that, but these are the types of things that you can do. Okay, so this is what I'm talking about, is making sure that you evaluate what types of opportunities you have in front of you, and what you can do with those opportunities to generate income. Sometimes it's not about necessarily taking on the deal just yourself. Sometimes you can sell those deals on and give that deal to somebody else and make money from doing that. Okay, next, we're going to talk about being reliable. Okay, by filling your pipeline with reliable lead source, deal flow out the other end. So reliable. With us, what we do is we focus on, we spend good money on a monthly basis to consistently drive opportunities into our database all across the country, okay? And these deals are anything from 1 bedroom that could potentially be turned into SAs to 5, 6 bedrooms. The biggest one we've had so far is a 10-bedroom HMO, right? So it's about—
No, we got a 31 room hotel.
Okay, okay, see, sometimes I'm not even aware of the opportunities that we have come in. So we've had a 31-room hotel come in, right? So we put the advertising out there, and we create the messaging that speaks to people, makes them come in, and then they tell us what we have. Sometimes people say to us like, oh, can you just get us a 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom HMOs? And I would say to them, that's not how it works. How it works is that we create messaging that brings in people that need the service that we offer and that you guys offer, right? But we can't control what they have when they bring that in. So as I say, it could be a 1-bedroom HMO, it could be a 10-bedroom HMO, it could be a 3-bedroom through property, it could be a 31-room hotel. So it's about having a reliable source of leads. And as I say, there are tons of different ways of doing this. The thing about us is that every month we're consistently putting money into advertising, Google ads, Facebook ads, banner ads, e-newsletters, everything. We're out there consistently. We've got some other bespoke methods that are to us, and we're bringing in a consistent flow, a consistent lead flow, and allowing you to create a pipeline of opportunities for your business. Okay, so that is something that you need, is a reliable flow of leads, because once you've got that, you can consistently keep working them. And I understand that, like, obviously there are certain areas where maybe the deals are not, there's not as many deals in those particular areas, right? But just as long as the deals that are in that area, you're getting access to them, and then what you can do is you can actually work on building up relationships with the people in those areas, tapping into their network, and they're telling you about their friends, and you work really well with them, and you start to build out into their network of friends and people that they know as landlords as well. Then we're going to go. Then we went into systems, and systems was about discovering how you can systemize your day and your scheduling to get your tasks done. So basically, what this was about, and this section was about treating what you're doing. It's not a hobby. Being in property is not a hobby. Simple. It's a business. And when you run a business, there's systems that go within a business. So, for example, when I get up on a daily basis, there's systems. I've got a schedule. I know that okay, today I need to focus on this. I'm doing calls with potential new clients. I'm going out and I'm speaking to investors. I'm meeting investors. I'm taking investors to lunch. I'm doing these different things. These things are scheduled. There's a business. There's a strategic goal. There's goals that so that there's a goal that I have there's a goal that I have for a day. There's also a goal that I have by the end of the week. There's goals that I have for the end of the month. These things are set up. Me and Malachi have these goals. We have our individual goals for tasks that we need to do individually, and then we have the company goals of things that we want the company to do. And we have these goals, and we're working towards them. We work backwards, and we work out what actions we need to take to get there. You need to systemize your business. You need to schedule, and it doesn't need to be anything too complicated. Like literally, you can use your Google Calendar, okay, and you just you block off time to do different things. Like, and you mix that into your life as well. So you mix that in with your exercise, your family time, the different things that you're doing. But you have to schedule. You have to treat your business you've got to treat your property business as a real business, not just a hobby or something you're doing on the side, right? You've got to turn it into a system. And as you turn things into a system, what you end up doing is you end up turning it into a way. So, for example, we started off, it was just me and Malachi. We now have, I believe it's 7 or 8 people in our team, yeah, where we've got people doing all different things, from the brochures that are being created to the phone calls that are being taken from the landlords, from the organic marketing that we're doing. All these different things that are now being done consistently, whether we're working on those particular things or not. Okay, so you've got to turn your business into systems, okay, that actually run for you and become like a well-tuned engine. Okay, and then you've got to execute. Okay, by doing rather than learning, you accelerate your learning curve. Now, our analogy and the thing that we say, and as I say, remember, guys, that I can hear the little ding, 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 ding is coming in. So that means that people are coming in. So what we're doing at the moment, we're just doing a review of what we did last week. So you haven't missed anything. If you haven't seen this training, you can actually go back into the members area and you can actually go through this training. Okay, but just doing a review of what we did last week, and then we're going to be going into the new training. We're going to do a case study, and then we're going to the new training. Now, the last thing that we did last week was we talked about execute. Okay, and within execute, Malachi, can you also keep me up to date on a time check of where we are as well?
Okay, yeah.
All right, cool. So with execute, well, what we're looking at is, this is key. This part, like, it's the last letter, but for me, this is the most important thing, and this is what I see so many people not doing, and I can't like it does my head in, because yeah, so many people, they're spending so much time watching videos, reading books, going and sitting in, before COVID, going and sitting in hotels, and before they just getting crammed with information, yeah, spending 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, sometimes even 20,000 to be part of different masterminds, right? But not actually going out and doing it, not having any properties under their belt. What's the point of that? Huh? What is the point of that? Does that help you? Like, and I'm not here to be a yes man. I'm not here for anyone to be my friend. I'm fine. Like, I don't like whether you're successful or not. Like I'm here to talk to you straight. What it actually is to actually get results, right? And at the end of the day, you have to get out there and do stuff. You have to do stuff. You have to mess up. You have to F up. You have to F up. It's like, and this is the analogy we use all the time, right? You can't learn to drive a car by reading books and watching videos. You're going to hear me say that all the time. You can't learn to drive a car by reading books and watching videos, because, and it's the same with property. Like, reading books, watching videos, going to events and sitting in events. You're not going to learn how to do property by doing that. You have to get out there. You have to get in front. You have to pick up the telephone, talk to a landlord, book a viewing. You have to have that landlord tell you, no, I don't want you to come to my house because you sounded wrong. And then you have to work out what I said wrong, and then work out how to say it correctly. You have to get out there. You have to speak. When you sit down and you put an offer in front of them and they tell you that offer is rubbish and they're not interested in it, right? And then you have to work out, how do I get that offer across the line? How do I create an offer that actually where it becomes a no-brainer for that landlord? They've got no choice but to take it. You have to understand how to do that, okay? And the only way you're going to do that is by getting out there. Now, don't get me wrong, you do need expert guidance. And that's why you have like a driving instructor sitting next to you, right? So you need guidance. You need someone that's there with you. And that's why we turn up on a weekly basis to help give you education and guidance, right? But but the only person that's actually going to make your property business grow is you. Yeah, and you have to get out there and do stuff. Like if you've been studying for years, you've spent loads of money on training, yeah, you've done the first step. Now you've got to get out there and you've got to actually start getting properties under your belt, because otherwise, what's the point? Otherwise, all that money you've spent, all that time you spent learning, yeah, has been a complete waste of time. Don't allow that to be the case. All right, next step.
Yes,
So,
case study.
Yeah. So we're on the case study now. So I keep hearing all the ding dings coming in. So for everybody, you haven't missed much, but basically what I've done is just done a quick review of last week's training. Okay. So if you want to get the full training, that actually is in the members area. You can go there, go through it. That's last week's training. I've just done a quick review of that. Now, what I want to do, this is what I love when I talk, this is what makes me want to do this stuff, right? Because to be able to talk about, can you bring that up, please, Manny, the screen for that?
1 second. I have an issue with the.
I'm going to keep talking while you're doing that. So, what I love is when we have clients that take on what it is that we're doing, and they actually take action and they get results. And this is a case study of somebody that actually took action. I'm not going to mention his name because I haven't got permission to mention his name. I'm going to talk about the deal. You would have seen this deal if you've seen our emails in the week, all right? Because we actually promoted this deal out in the week. And the powerful thing about this, and as I said, we promoted this deal out in the week, was that this deal started off as a lead. So this deal came into our system as somebody that wanted to sell their property. And let me tell you the story about how this all came about. So first of all, the guy that put this deal together, when I first spoke to him, I remember speaking to him, and he was a little bit dubious about what it was that we offered, because he was like, look, I've heard about people that generate leads and stuff like that, and only they're load of caca, and like, I just don't know. And I was like, look, I gave him the spiel about our background and what we're about, and how we qualify the leads and stuff like that. And I said to him, look, at the end of the day, for what we charge 150 quid a month, right? Like, if the worst case scenario, if it's no good, what are you down by? Like, really? Like, is it worth a punt? Yeah, like, we're in the property game, right? Like, this industry, like £150 a month is chump change in relation to what it is that we're trying to do in this industry, right? So, and he took the plunge. He literally took the plunge and he jumped in, and we started generating leads for him. He's actually part of our sell your home fast leads as well. So he gets leads about people that want to sell their house and stuff like that. That's a very bespoke group that we've got of investors that we work with, and we do a lot of qualification for those types of people. Anyway, a deal came in, and this deal, it was interesting because it came in on our live chat, and the lady that initially put the deal into our live chat, she said that she gave a bit of a brief overview of what our problem was. And this is why this is what we talk about when we talk about distressed opportunity, right? And it requires you to be tactful when you're dealing with this type of deal. Now, what happened it was a divorce situation where the husband had changed the locks of the house. She'd got the house back through the courts. She's gone back into the house, and the house had been completely trashed. She was just completely like, I just need to get this house sold, yeah, and move on with my life. And she just wanted to sell the property. This is what she wrote to us, basically. She told us this information. This is the basic information we had, right? We passed it on to our investors. Nally took on the deal. So I can see questions. I'm going to be answering questions at the end of this session, okay? So Malachi, if you can pick up any of the questions and get ready to like, we'll get into those. We'll get into those a bit. No, it's fine. Kirsty, you go ahead. Ask away, Kirsty. It's fine. I'm saying we're going to take them at the end, so I'll answer all the questions at the end. So you go ahead and throw them in there. and I'll get to those at the end if that's okay with you. Cool, thank you. No worries, no problem. So yeah, as I said, where was I? I got completely lost. Yeah, so our deal maker, what he did is he took this deal on, he had a chat with them, and it was very interesting. What was interesting, because he told me about the whole process, and what was interesting was that it was like he became the therapist for two sides. So he was speaking with the husband, and he was speaking with the wife, who were in a divorce situation, right? And he had them both moaning about each other to them, but he had to stay neutral, into the point of where one was saying, like, "You're not taking her side, are you? Or you're not taking his side, are you?" And they would give him all that, and but he stayed neutral, and he kept to the line of, "This is what I can do for you, this is how I can help you, this is where I can get you," and so on and so forth. Now, what's so good about our deals is that, as I said to you, because we create these messaging that captures people very early on in their process, it's before they get out to anywhere else. So it's before it gets put with a name brand, sort of like a high street estate agent, or gets put on all the big websites like Rightmove, Zoopla, or anything like that, right? So because it's before that, it allowed our deal maker to build a very strong and solid relationship with them, to the point of that the other investors came in from other places to try to put offers in. In fact, as you can see here, it says that the purchase price that they got that he got the deal signed for this property was 215,000, when the market value is 260,000. I think that's 20% below market value, right? I think it's about 20% below. I think it's a bit more.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
about 20% below market value, right? Yeah, and so in this day and age, what's going on right now as well? Getting 20% below market value is gold dust, because properties at the moment are going for the value and more at this precise moment. Like, anybody that's actually out there trying to buy properties below market value is seeing this. So that anybody that's doing it knows it. Put yes in the message if you know that properties are going for the current market value and more. If you know that, put yes in the chat box, right? But because obviously their situation, they just wanted to get the money out of them. They were happy to go with 250,000. And this is what, like, I talked about this before, of why relationships is more powerful than money. Relationships are more powerful than money. And the reason I say that is because his offer is 215,000 for a property that's worth 260 to 280, depending on what type of refurb you do on the property. You could just do a very deep cleanse, maybe replace the kitchen and get 260, or you could do a complete refurb, complete like restructuring the whole property and either laying it out into separate individual parts, and you can get a lot higher, get up to like 280, right? But the reason why relationships are so key is because another investor came in and offered, I think it was 5, maybe even 10 grand more. I can't remember exactly what the amount was yet. They offered more. And because he had a great relationship with the sellers, they refused any other deals. They really worked with him. And the only reason that he had a great relationship with them is because he got in there very early. And that's the good thing. I say 90% of the deals that we have, they come in when they're very early, like the person hasn't even listed anywhere. Don't get me wrong, some have, about 10% have, but the majority of them haven't. So these are off-market deals, and that's absolutely amazing. Now, the good thing about this deal is that this deal actually ends up that it worked out that this one deal was worth 30,000 as a minimum, £30,000. Imagine that. He's been with us for 2 months. So what has he spent? £300 with us. We don't charge no back end fee. Maybe the thing is, maybe we should start charging a back end fee. Malachi, we're going to have to start talking about that. But for now, we don't charge no back end fee, right? And he's put together a deal that has 30 grand worth of profit in it. Now, he could have took that on himself, yeah, or he could have sold it as a deal. And that what he decided to do is he wanted to sell it as a deal because he has he needed a cash buyer to be able to pay 215,000. He didn't personally have that available to him right there and then. He's got money tied up in other things, so he sold that deal to somebody else, giving somebody else the opportunity to get a minimum of 30 grand profit. He made a finder's fee of 5 grand. So just him, one of our clients, just made a finder's fee of 5 grand from so far, he's only been with us for 2 months, he spent 300 quid. Come on, you do the maths. Now imagine if he was with, the first month he was with us, he just decided, oh, you know what? Oh, I haven't got a deal yet, I'm done. Or, oh, this is not working, I'm done. That's the problem. It doesn't work like that all the time. Like something, it happened within his second month, he got a deal across the line, right? Even if it took him 6 months to get his first deal, I'm not saying it's going to, but even if, it's still great value, because the type of money you can make when you get a good deal in play. And this is the mindset you have to have, that you have to go through talking to a number of people to get deals into play. You also have to put out a lot of offers, okay? You've got to learn to follow up with people as well, okay? Now we're at 7:30. We haven't even got into the training yet. We've got half an hour to get through the training. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna speed through the training, okay? But we are gonna come back to this training. So we're gonna reverse that. Once we've gone through the whole O5 reverse property sourcing, we're going to go back through it again for the paid members as well, but it's only going to be for paid members where we go into it into real depth. Okay, we're going to take each section, and each section we're going to go into it in real depth. So yeah. All right, so let's get into the next section of the training. All right, so the next section, so obviously the bit I just reviewed was options. I just did a quick case study, and now we're going to talk about opportunities, okay? Now, within opportunities, there is something that you've got to be looking at, that if you don't have this thing, pretty much what's going to happen is that you're going to put together bad deals. You're not going to be able to put together a deal where you can create 30 grand's profit or make a 5 grand fee, right? If you don't have this thing, okay? But if you do have it, it's going to allow you to know know exactly how to put deals together to make sure that every time a deal actually completes, that you make a very good profit, whether it be monthly or one-off takeaway. And the word that I'm talking about that we're going to go into in today's training is accuracy. Okay, so now when it comes to accuracy, I said we're going to break it down as an acronym, and we're starting off with area. Okay, so we get leads in from all different places around the country. Now, it's about looking at what area the lead is in and understanding what is the areas that you're working in and what strategies work best for that particular area, right? So, for example, if you're in London, rental yields or property prices are a lot higher. So different strategies would apply better to like properties in London. Like, so in London, for example, a single let property can create a really good yield in central London or in different parts of London, right? But maybe not so much out in maybe Manchester or the Midlands and stuff like that, because the rents for properties may be a lot less. But it's about also understanding and knowing to yourself, what is it that you're going to do with those particular properties, because there's still money to be made from them. So it's about knowing what is it that you're going to do and how you're going to put how you're going to put together a strategy to work with those properties. Is it that you're going to do a lease option with that property? Is it that you're going to buy that property? Is it that you're going to do a conversion on that property to maybe take a 3-bedroom property into a 6-bedroom property or a 5-bedroom property? It's about knowing what strategies to do based on the areas that you're in, and then what strategies work best within those areas. Let's move on to the next section. So the next section is calculations. Now, are we going to go in and break down some actual calculations and stuff? Have we got time to do that, do you think?
Yeah, we have.
Yeah? All right. So calculations. So what we're looking at from calculations perspective, okay, is how to work out your potential profits. Now, if you understand the process, you can close more deals. So let's start off with so how do you want to go about it, Monica? We're gonna bring some calculators up? Cool. Get some calculators up. All right. So let's just do an example case study, right, of a 2 grand a month property. Okay. So let's say we've got a property where the gross rent, and when I say gross rent, let me explain what I mean when I say gross rent. This has got nothing to do with what the landlord wants. So when you look on the brochures, guys, and you see gross rent, that's not what the landlord is asking for. This is what we have worked out the gross rent to be based on three to five comparable properties in that area. Okay, that's what we've worked out the gross rent to be. Okay, based on 3 to 5 properties in that area. So that's what the gross rent is. Yeah. So that's what the tenant will pay as rent. So the tenant's paying £2,000 rent, and this is internal numbers for you to understand, for you to work out how to actually make a margin and a profit from working with somebody's property, right? So, and obviously this is for rent to rent or lease options, more rent to rent, really. So when we look at this, we call it MMV, okay? It's a standard model, lots of people use this model. And what we're looking at is off of a £2,000 property, you're looking at a maintenance allowance of 10%, that's £200 a month, a management allowance of 12%, which is 10% plus that, which is basically £240 per month, and a 1 month void period, okay? 1 month void, which is 1 month divided over 12 months, yeah, which is £172 per month, okay? And then bills if applicable. Now, if it's a multi-let property, you have to allow for bills, okay? So always remember that. This is something that can mess you up if you don't remember that. You have to include your bills here. Now that obviously means that the rent will be higher per room, so that the bills would be covered, but you still need to include them in your calculations. Okay. So what that means is that of a £2,000 a month rent, based on MMV, what you'd be able to offer the landlord is about £1,388. Now, let's not be silly. Like at the end of the day, you could give the landlord 1,400, 1,450 potentially even 1,500, right? However, that is what the numbers work out, 1,388. Then what that leaves you with, okay, is a gross investor profit of £612. Now, remember, the key word here is gross, because, yeah, it's not net. Now, what that means is that this money is not yours. You are an investor, okay? This money is not for you to just go off and spend and go and have fancy lunches and stuff like that straight off the back, okay? This is for you to actually put down. You need to put this money down, because the only money that is really yours to start off with is the management fee. So that £240 management fee is the only thing that's really yours straight off the bat, because you're managing the property on a month-to-month basis, yeah? But what I would say, don't even spend that either, okay? The £612 that you make from this particular property, you just put that money down for at least 8 months. But the way I do it would be a year, okay? And then at the end of a year, that £612 actually works out to be £7,344, okay? So that is what your gross investor profit is. What you've got to understand, and this is why I say that you cannot spend that money. That money is not yours to spend straight off the back. It's because it is your job to manage the property, to cover any maintenance up to £200 on a monthly basis, right? But it is your job to cover those things, right? Now, and look after that property. So if like, for example, and also what that includes as well is this £7,344 includes different things that you would put into the offer to make the offer super attractive. Because in the beginning, you might say to the landlord, you know what, this house needs a complete redecoration. It needs a little bit of a refurb. So we're going to put like £1,000 into that. It might be that you need to switch. You might need to switch a few things for that particular deal. And we're going to go into this in a bit more into the accuracy acronym as well. But like, it might mean that you need to put on fire doors for each one of the bedrooms to make it HMO compliant. There's different things that you might need to spend money on. Yeah. Now, typically, if you don't know your numbers, you're like, I don't want to spend that money. But if you understand your numbers, you can spend a couple of grand, not spend ridiculous amounts, but you can spend a couple of grand knowing that you're going to make that back through the period of time that you've got the property, because typically a minimum of 3 to 5 years is what you're going to have the property under some sort of lease for or term for. Okay, so that being the case, at the end of the year, you might, let's say the first year, your gross net invested profit is £7,344. But let's just say, all in with maintenance and anything, any refurb and stuff that you need to do in the beginning, yeah, it costs you let's say £2,000. So let me see, what is that? 65567. So 5,000. So you'd be left with £5,344. Yeah. So it costs you £2,000 worth of, let's just say £2,000. Yeah. This is just an example case. Let's say it costs you £2,000 in expenses for that year, right? So you spent £2,000 out of that 7,344. So you're left with £5,344 off of one property. Now, what you got to think to yourself as well is that problems with properties, they don't come up that often. Like, just don't know where they come up. They do come up, so they come up, yeah. But it's some people say it's very hard to handle, but I don't think it is. Like, just as long as you've got a good team around you, it's about having a good power team around you. Like, so you've got a good electrician, a good plumber, a good handyman, a good decorator. You should be good to go. Like, you should literally be good to go, right? And what that leaves you with is just over £5,000 for that one particular property. So £5,000 for one particular property. If let's say you've got 10 properties under your belt, I don't even know what that is. Malachi, what's that?
50 grand a year.
50 grand a year. I think it's actually 60, but like, let's just say 50 grand a year. So 50 grand a year is what you could have just by having 10 properties under your belt, just under this calculation on its own, right? But it's about understanding the calculations now. And also it's about, once you understand these calculations, it's about how do you get a landlord to get these calculations and actually take on this type of deal? Because it's easy enough to say, oh, this is the calculation, this is what you do. But how do you get a landlord to accept that? And we're going to get into that. That's all the stuff that we're going to be getting into, and how you actually do that. So let me get back to the presentation. So that's calculations, right? And there's a ton of different things that you've got to look at when it comes to calculations. I just talked about one area, which is the MMV, but there's a lot more different things that you need to understand. You need to calculate what type of deal you're going to work out with the clients. And this is where you look at the next step, which is choices. So once you've done your calculations on a particular property, you then got to say to yourself, okay, what different types of projects can I use to make this property work, right? So it's about understanding what your choices are. So opening yourself up to different types of opportunities for the project. So Malachi, what in regards to choices, like, what is your thought process around choices?
So the different types of properties that you can work with really does determine your yield on how much you make on a monthly basis. Mark's just gone through the calculations, but what we have found is that sometimes people only want to work with like 6-bedroom HMOs or 5-bedroom HMOs.
Yeah.
And sometimes, they yield a lot. You get a lot from a 5-bedroom, 6-bedroom HMO, especially if you can do a refurb and turn it into separate rooms yourself. But it's a lot of work. Whereas you can, as you've seen, you can still make quite good value from doing a number of single lets.
Yeah, no, definitely. So Malachi explained that perfectly there, where it's about understanding what choices you have available to you, and with looking at the different properties that come in, knowing that it doesn't always have to be. And I think this is what a lot of people, they get trained in one way, and then they think that that's the only way they can do things. It doesn't always have to be a 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom HMO or more bedroom HMO. Don't get me wrong. That's the holy grail. That's the sort of like the gold dust. That's what you want, right? And don't get me wrong, when they come along, take them, utilize them, use them, but don't be blind to the profit that you can get from other properties, from single let opportunities, right? From a property maybe in Manchester or Birmingham, yeah, where it's a single let opportunity, but you've got it under a lease option where you've got the option to buy it in 5 years' time, yeah, where you could build an extension onto that particular property. And don't be blocked by the fact that you think to yourself, oh, maybe I haven't got the money to do that right now, because just as long as you, and this is the key thing about your choices, yeah, is that if you found this opportunity and you think to yourself, you know what, I could build an extension onto this property and add another 2 bedrooms and a self-contained unit or whatever it is on side of the property, and you price it all up and you get builders down and you work out what it's going to cost. Yeah. As long as you can present that in a logical way and create like a business presentation around it, you can always find investors. Like, first of all, you can come to people like ourselves, and we will put that out to our people, right? And we've got sources, we've got direct investors, people that have verified funds and stuff like that, so we can work with you. But there are websites out there that do this as well. There's websites out there that are specifically around that, like one called Crowd Property, which is just a great website for being able to get your projects funded. So it's about knowing that as long as the opportunity is there, the choice of what you're going to do with that opportunity to be able to turn it into something and be that person that has done the legwork to create the opportunity and then present it to an investor and then get the money to make it happen, if that's what it is that you're going to do. Next that we're going to look into is your unique approach. Okay, so I don't know, I feel like we might need to break this across 2 weeks. What do you think?
No, we can get this done. I'll prompt you.
Okay, cool.
I mean, if it goes a little bit longer, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Yeah. That's
all right. All right, cool. So your unique approach. Now, there's tons of different strategies out there, and I'm always asked when I'm on the phone, I'm talking to different people. Like, I'm always like, oh, what's the best strategy? What's the best strategy to go with if I'm just a beginner? If I've got money? And the thing is, the honest truth is there's no best strategy. It's about what strategy fits with the situation, right? Now, the reason why I say that is because you have to understand what strategy fits with the situation. It's so important, because if you start to believe that, oh, I just want to do rent to rent, oh, I just want to do lease options, oh, I just want to do management, oh, I just want to sell, I just want to buy properties and that's it. I just feel like you could potentially be losing opportunities, right? Now, don't get me wrong. There are people out there where they just focus on one thing and that's what they want to do, and that's fine. But my school of thought, the way I think is that if you understand all the different strategies that you can use, then what's the big deal in applying different strategies to different opportunities? Like, because it is super important. And as I say, this week, what we're talking about is opportunity. So you've got to apply a unique approach to each opportunity. So rent to rent, you've got lease options, you've got management only, you've got joint ventures with a landlord, right? So let me just quickly go into these, yeah. And the reason why this is super important is because the strategy that you use is not just about the opportunity. It's also about the economic climate as well. And one of the things that we're seeing, and this is super important, if you don't want to lose money, yeah, and a lot of people won't tell you this, they'll just train you on what they've been training people on for years, and their training is not adapting based on what's actually happening. And the reason why it's not adapting is because they're not actually out there doing it, right? Or they're not actually working with people that are actually out there doing it, right? Now, and that could be dangerous for you, because if you're just being told rent to rent, just do rent to rent, just do rent to rent, it's a great opportunity, right? In some cases, rent to rent is not always the solution, because if you think about what's going on right now, the 20th of September, they just released the eviction ban because of COVID. They just released the eviction ban. Now, what does that mean? They put new legislation in place, which says that it now takes a little bit longer to evict somebody if they're being a problematic, or they're playing silly buggers and they're being a problematic tenant, right? So what does that mean to you as somebody that is offering rent to rent, which ultimately means that you're offering rent guarantee, and you're covering void periods, that means that you are more at risk. That's what it means. It means you're more at risk, you're more exposed. You can get burnt. So what does that mean? It means that you've got to say to yourself, okay, what other things can I offer to not be burnt? And that's where you look at things like a lease option. Because if you've got the option to buy somebody's property at the end of a term, there's more value in being able to stomach a void period because you know that you've got the option to buy that property out in 5 years' time. If you, for example, only offer the landlord just management only, and so you just offer the 10% plus that, so 12%, yeah, to that landlord. So for that £2,000 property which you talked about, that'd be about £240, right? If you offer just management, but then you called around to a ton of insurance, rent guarantee insurance companies, you could either recommend an insurance company, or you could do a deal with an insurance company where that insurance company will pay you a commission for deals that you bring in, right? You could then put together a deal like that. So it could be just management with you recommending a rent guarantee insurance company that goes with it, which protects you. Because my job here is to protect you. I know what you're going out there, putting a deal together, and 6 months in, you get burnt and you end up in a negative. So it's about you understanding and looking at a deal and knowing that, okay, rent to rent in some areas, go for it. And we'll talk about what areas you should be looking at and how you look at supply and demand and understand that, right? But in some cases, you've got to know not to always do that. Sometimes you might need to do stuff that protects yourself. It still gets the landlord what they want, but it protects yourself. And the last thing I just want to talk about is a joint venture with the landlord. And basically, and we're going to go into some more detail, and this is actually something, I'll be honest with you, this is something I've just learned recently from another client, yeah. So I haven't yet actually implemented this strategy myself, yeah, but because the good thing is that because I speak to people that are out there doing it all the time, I get insights on things that people are doing, and I can bring that to the table and bring that to you, right? So joint venture with a landlord is something that we're going to be putting together very soon ourselves, but this is what it is, and it's very basic, and we'll go into it in more details in another call, right? But basically what it is, it's working with the landlord where you're taking all the pressure off the landlord, you're managing the property, but instead, but in regards to like all of the expenses related to the property, you go 50-50 with the landlord, but you also go 50-50 on whatever the profit is after that. So it's basically like you take off all of the stress from the landlord in regards to him actually handling it. You're their manager, yeah, but you just go 50-50 on the end of the profit with them, the end of the profit. But you're doing that without actually owning the property. So they own the property, you become the person that is like the manager of the property manager, but you also get a decent split on whatever the margin is on that property, right? So that's what a joint venture with the landlord is. We're going to go into more detail about that. I'm actually going to bring in the deal maker that works with us and actually have him speak about that. We're also going to be bringing in the guy that did the 30 grand profit deal as well, and do an interview with him later on. Recordings. Let's look at recordings. So one of the most powerful things about what we do as well is that every time a landlord calls into us or we call to a landlord, the call is instantly recorded. And what we do is we obviously let them know the call's being recorded. But why is that important to you? Well, the reason that's important to you is because there's only so much that I can take down or our phone support team can take down when we're on a call, right? And when you get to listen to the recording, there could be something that you pick up that gives you an insight on how you put together your unique approach to create that deal with that landlord. Okay, so there could be something that you put together that gives you an insight on how you put that deal together with the landlord, right? You also, before you get to speak to that landlord, you have no clue of what their demeanor is like, how they are they combative, are they nice, are they prickly, are they defensive, what are they like, right? Now, if you get to listen to the call, you get so many interesting.
Oh my God.
You get so many interesting landlords. Like they use the word interesting because that's the best word I can think of. You get very interesting landlords, yeah. And I'm a landlord myself, but like at the end of the day, right? Like you get some people that they're dubious, they start off very defensive and stuff like that. And when you hear the call, you get a feel for what they're like. You get a feel for like they could be very pushy, they could be a know-it-all, like, oh, I just want this or I just want that, and so on and so forth. So because you get a feel for what they're like straight away, it then allows you to be sort of say to yourself, okay, so I need to mirror their approach and be, if they're coming across aggressive, then instead of coming across aggressive, but you need to match that same energy in that, because if you come very timid, they'll just control you. They'll just control you. Yeah. And then you're in a bad situation. So you need to be assertive. You need to be able to put forward what it is that you're about. And what it also tells you as well is that if you're speaking to a landlord that is very sort of sharp and knows exactly what's going on and stuff like that, it means that going back to what we talked about, and we talked about this in last week's as well, is that you have to understand this, and also in calculations, as you see there, you need to understand your numbers. Because if you understand your numbers, then they can't dominate you and control what it is that you're going to put out there as an offer. You just put your offer out there, you explain why that's your offer, and then you walk away. It's like if you want to take the offer or you don't want to take the offer. And by having the recordings, it gives you that insight into what that landlord is about. Okay. And it can be very helpful. Some people, they don't need that. Like we've got certain people who are part of our membership. They don't even listen to the recordings, they just get straight into it. But that's because they're very well experienced and they've spoken to so many landlords that they understand how to deal with lots of different character types. But if you're just starting out, these recordings are invaluable to you because it allows you to really get that type of insight. Now, unfortunately, not all of the leads have recordings because not all of the leads come in through phoning us or us phoning them. But the ones that do, you'll get access to them. Okay. Next, audit. Okay, so audit is about understanding supply and demand in the area. By ensuring that you understand demand is higher than supply, finding tenants should be easy. Yes. So what we do when it comes to when we talk about supply and demand, we use a website that gives us an indication of how many properties are offering rent in a particular area, right? And then how many tenants are looking for rent in a particular area. Now, the website that we use is based on a room by room basis. The website that we use is based on a room by room basis, right? Now, that being the case, you've got to take this insight with a pinch of salt, but it gives you a good indication, because if the indication is that let's say there's 500 properties on the market to rent, but there's 1,500 tenants looking for properties to rent, that gives you a good indication that that's a great area for getting rentals, because there's more tenants than there is properties, which means that your property should get filled. Like that gives you a good indication. Now, obviously, there's other things that you can look at as well, because if depending on what types of tenants you're getting, it would be professional, local housing authority, whatever it is that you're getting, you've got to look at different demographics around that area. And we give you those insights around employment in the area, relationship statuses in the area, educational levels within the area and stuff like that. We give you that insight into the brochures as well. But it's about doing that and understanding what types of tenants potentially you could be getting into property and what the supply and demand is of that. But in addition to that also, right, what you're looking at as well is, so take that, use that as something to give you a guideline, but don't make that be the be all and end all and everything. One thing you've got to learn about, just in general about doing business, is that you might get taught something and like, for example, what you've been taught in your training sessions and stuff like that in different places, even what you learn from here, right? And I really do feel that what we bring to the table is cutting edge stuff that working in the real world today, right? But even stuff you're learning here, yeah, when you get out there and you actually do it, you're going to come across unique situations, yeah, that didn't get taught in the classroom. It's just going to happen. Yeah. And you've got to think on your feet, right? And you've got to look at situations and say to yourself, you know what? This is why this, and this is why that. And let me explain what I mean by that. Because, for example, you might come across, you might see our data, and you might say, oh, well, let's say, for example, there's 100 properties to rent in that particular area, and there's 110 tenants that are looking for properties. Oh, that means the supply and demand is not great. Not necessarily. It might mean that the supply and demand is not great. It just means you have to look deeper, because what it also might mean, it might mean that you're in an area where renting by the rooms is not something that happens a lot in that particular area. It might be that place that's more of a family area where multi-lets and stuff like that is not as popular in those particular areas. So understanding that means that so it's about also obviously understanding the area that you're in and being a bit of an expert in that particular area. And all that takes is research or experience of actually being someone that's living around that area and stuff like that, right? Next section, where we at 8 o'clock. Cool, we've got 2 more to go. We can make this happen. I'm going to do some questions as well, yeah?
About 3.
Yeah, we'll get some questions out as well. We'll go a bit longer today. Apologies for anybody that we're going a bit longer. Hopefully you're getting value out of this. So the next section is core offering. This is the bit I love. I'm not joking. This is what makes use. This is what gets the deal over the line. So when I talked about like how you set up your calculations and understanding your areas and knowing what your choices are and your unique approach, all of that is great, right? Doing the audit. But if you get this bit wrong, if you get your core offering wrong, all of that means nothing. That means nothing, because you put an offer out that doesn't get a response, doesn't get the landlord to want to work with you. And it's all about understanding how to put a really good offer out. And the difference between a substandard offer and a really good offer is that, so a substandard offer is when, for example, when we went into the calculations, is if you sent an email to that landlord, you just said, okay, so your rent is 2,000, like you just went to the landlord and said, oh, I can offer you a guaranteed rent of 1,388. I pretty much promise you, every single landlord will tell you to go spin. Pretty much, every single landlord will tell you bye, no thanks, not interested, or just won't respond to you. Probably never answer your phone call again, right? You have to craft your offer. Think about it. When you're going to buy something, right? If you was buying a TV, so if you're just buying a TV, so you've got 2 TVs, exactly the same TVs, exactly the same makes, but in 2 different shops. One is just selling a TV, but one's selling the TV with a 3-year subscription to Netflix, a sound bar that goes with it, and a free Wii that goes with it. And one's just a TV. Same price. Which one would you take? Obviously, you're going to take the one which is a better offer. And that's what you've got to understand, the difference of your offers and how you lay out your offers. And we're going to go into this in more detail in up and coming weeks, right? But like, you've got to know how to put offers together so that literally it's a superior offer, it's irresistible, and it's a no-brainer to that landlord, okay? It's an offer, it's a core offer that makes that landlord say, oh my gosh, I literally have to take this deal. And let me give you a couple of things of what that looks like, right? So, do you offer a landlord rent guarantee or management, or you're in a joint venture with that landlord, right? Now, that offer might look like you saying, okay, your property, it needs some work, all right? We're going to need to get new sofas, we're going to need to do the full new paintwork, sort out the blinds, put new doors on, so on and so forth. It's going to cost this much to get this into shape, ready to go. That's included within this deal. So I'm going to manage your rent. I'm offering you a guaranteed rent of 1,388. I'm going to cover that cost as well. In addition to that, what I'm going to do as well is I'm going to pay you 2 months up front. I'm not saying you should do this. I'm just saying this is an example of an offer. I'm going to pay you 2 months up front, or maybe even 3 months up front, right? And in addition to that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to advise you on different things that we can do. Like I can see you've got a loft up there, and I'm going to bring builders in, and we're going to get quotes on how we're going to turn that loft into an additional room. There's 2 receptions there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at in those 2 receptions converted into compliant rooms, so we can add additional value to this property as well, rather than just paying £1,388. Now you've made it an offer that is attractive and it has value to it. Now, I'm not saying you have to do it exactly like that, but that's the key thing to making an offer really attractive, and we can get into that as well. Okay, so and then last thing is yield. I see some more questions coming in. We're going to answer. We're going to spend maybe 10 minutes or so on questions. So last thing is yield. Focus on closing the deal. By getting deals, in principle, you can earn an instant revenue. So everything that we've just spoken about leads to this last bit of yield. So like, it's all to do with everything that we've spoken about. So from area to calculation to choices to unique approach to understanding recordings, the audits, the core offer leads to your ability to put offers out there, get landlords to come back to you and say, yes, I agree, sign a document, do a DocuSign, sign a document with you to say that they agree to the deal that you put into place, yeah? And you either take that deal yourself, you take it on yourself, yeah, or you then package that deal and sell that deal on. Now, there are certain laws around being compliant. You have to be compliant to be able to package deals and sell them on. But if you're not compliant, we are a fully compliant company, and those deals can be passed to us. We can sell those deals on, and we can give you a referral fee, not a deal fee. It's just in the wording, but we can give you a referral fee for that deal, yeah. And basically, we can split up the fee and give you a fee for those things. So that's something that can happen as well. So you can generate yield from these different deals. So the deal doesn't have to be deals that you're taking on yourself. You can go and put deals together, right, that are outside of your area base, right? Put the deals together and then resell them to other people, right? You don't have to sell them to our list. There's the social media out there. There's your own investors. There's tons of different ways that you can find people to sell them to, and we're going to show you that stuff as well as the weeks go on. So, Mr. Kelly Malachi, what are we doing? What have we got for questions?
So Jay wanted to know, how can a 2-bedroom flat making £200 be made into a deal that can be packaged to investors?
How can a 2-bedroom flat, what the profit making £200, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, Jay can explain more. He's still here. I'll open the mic to him. Ask him to unmute.
Yeah, hi there. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Jay.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, because I've been previously sourcing that 5-6 bedroom HMOs. I find that they're income producing, but in terms of a lot of the deals that are coming through, they're like 2-bed flats, for example, maybe making 200, maybe making 300. I know my investor database, my sort of kind of people wouldn't really go for those sorts of deals per se. So for those sorts of deals, are the purpose for them to be packaged as a lease option, or if it can't be packaged as a lease option, a deal making £300 or £200, what's the angle for an investor?
Okay, so if the profit is like £200 to £300, first off, like you said, like some investors are not going to be interested in that, right? So there's a couple of ways that you can approach it. The first being is that, can that deal, if it's close to a station or close to like different sort of amenities, can that deal be can be turned into like a serviced accommodation, for example? You see what I'm saying? So when then it then goes from it only being £200 profit, because it's only £200 profit based on MMV, right? But it could actually be £1,000 profit if you're renting out the rooms on a room rate on a daily basis, like a hotel. So that then becomes a lot more. That property makes a lot more profit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
So it's about being creative. It's about saying to yourself, okay, this property is, and maybe when you look at the property, it might be that property doesn't fit the criteria, and it's just one you have to let go. That's sometimes, and that's something that you have to know as well, is that sometimes that the criteria for that particular property, if you're looking to sell it on as a sourcer, it might not necessarily just work for somebody. But if it's for yourself and it's just a deal that you could just put on an extra £200 on your bottom line, yeah, like, and it's not much to do it, and the landlord's up for doing it, like, why not just take an extra £200 a month if you're doing it for yourself, right? But if you are selling it on to people, then you got to think about again, it's about how you put the offer together. What do I do with this, right? Like, could this be potentially a service accommodation where the amount I'm charging per day with this particular property makes this property worthwhile, and now the margin with this property is gone from £200 to £800 to potentially even £1,000, because I'm changing. What did we talk about? The unique approach to that property. I didn't even include service accommodations there, but yeah, the unique approach to that property. So that's the way I'll go about that. But then sometimes the piece of the puzzle just doesn't fit, and that's just how it is sometimes, and then you just can't do nothing with that. And then either you're taking it on yourself or you're letting that go. But when you say just my investors, they might not be interested in that. Sometimes it's like you've got to also go and look at who else could be potentially interested in this. Could I give this to somebody to manage, and they give me like a cut of the monthly? Like, it's about being creative, because somebody has to do something with that property, right? Because if that landlord is looking for somebody to take over their property, someone's going to get it, whether it just be a letting agent or like a name brand high street letting agent. Someone's going to take on that property, and someone's going to make money from it. Why not you? Does that help?
Oh, sorry, I muted Jay.
That's fine. No problem.
Kirsty had a question. She wanted to know, would you say that 3K for an R2R HMO and 5K for a purchase are typical fees for a deal sourcer?
Typical fees. Oh, that's a good question. And I remember when I first started out, I was always confused as to how to work out the fee structures and stuff like that. Like, my answer is not going to be that helpful, in a sense that it's unique to each deal, because it's to do with each individual deal has its different pros and cons, which makes it worth a certain amount. So you can't just have a flat rate of just £3,000 for a deal. If that deal, for example, if there's certain things that to make that deal work, it might take, like, let's say, for example, you've got someone that's moved, they've got a 5-bedroom house, and they're moving out, they've lived in that house themselves, and they're moving out of that house. I'm giving an example of a property that I know that's what happened. So they're moving out of that house into another place, and it hasn't yet got an HMO license, it hasn't been set up compliant for a HMO license or anything, right? So the work that it takes to turn that property into a profit generating machine, yeah, is a lot more, and there's a lot more expenses. You've got to put fire doors on, you've got to apply for the HMO license, there's research that's involved, and so on and so forth, right? So, and potentially there could be refurbs that need to be done to make it HMO compliant and stuff like that. So the work that needs to be done to turn that property into a profit generating machine, the amount that costs, plus with your fee on top of it, may make the deal not worthwhile. So so each deal is unique. You've got to look at each deal on a case-by-case basis. So like Kirsty, if you want, we can get on a call one-on-one, and we can, if you've got a particular deal that you want to talk about, I can talk you through it and talk about how to do it, because what I prefer to do is actually look at it from a potential percentage basis, and looking at different angles of what percentage I can be charging based on the annual rent and stuff like that, the annual gross rent and stuff like that. But yeah, it's on a case-by-case basis. Yeah. So sorry to not be able to give you a very specific answer because she said thank you. Okay, cool. But like, because if I'm just gonna say to you, yeah, it's just free, just charge $3,000 for rent to rent, $5,000 for sell your property. That's not how it works. It doesn't work like that. Like, because some people do that, right? But then it can cause problems because depending on what the deal was about, depends on how you should charge. That's the way I see it anyway, because otherwise what happens is that you could have a deal that because you just charge $3,000, you just make the deal unattractive because of all the other things involved in making that deal work, and it doesn't stack up for that person, where it might mean that you need to charge $1,500 to make the deal work for that person, at least buy it off you, and you build that relationship with that investor, if that makes sense. So yeah. Any more questions, Mr. Kelly?
What areas do we cover?
That's a good question. So when we first started, we covered the whole of the UK just as a blanket thing. And then what we did is we realized that we were getting so many opportunities in, but we didn't have enough people to execute on all those different opportunities. So we pulled the campaign back just to around London, an 80-mile radius around London. And then as we spoke to more and more people, we started tapping into different areas. So if you look at the board, you'll see that the majority of the opportunities are in the northwest, southeast of London. However, there are also opportunities in different parts. And the reason why there are opportunities in different parts is because as we've spoken to different people, we've basically got what we call boots on the ground in different areas, which means that, like, for example, like up in Manchester and Greater Manchester, we have a few people out there. So we've now put a campaign out in Manchester. We've got somebody out in Nottingham, Long Eaton, and places like Long East and places like that. So we've got a campaign out there. Now, it takes a little while for those campaigns to build up and build exposure and stuff like that in those areas. But we have campaigns in there. We've got places in West Yorkshire, Midlands, and stuff like that. So if there's areas that you're not seeing on our board, don't think, oh, I can't work with them. Don't be ridiculous. We do digital marketing. Like, we can target pretty much any area. Now, whether or not your area has demand is a different thing. And again, that's what speaks to the fact of where it's about your choices and knowing, okay, maybe this is not my particular area that I want to work myself, but I can go and put deals together in some different areas and then sell those deals on as well. What else we got?
I was looking through the questions. Just maybe just one more.
One more?
Yeah. Isn't sharing the phone calls against GDPR?
That's a brilliant question. So we looked into this, okay? And one of the things that we basically, from like advice that we got and insight that we got, we paid consultants and stuff like that. So we actually really looked into this properly. And what we found out was this. So this is what we do when we do a call. And you'll hear this, anybody that has the recordings package with us will hear this in our calls, that we say a regulation and compliance statement at the beginning of our call. Let me just give you what that is so you guys can hear it. So this is a statement that we say at the beginning of all of our calls. And if for whatever reason we don't say this statement, we don't provide the recording. So we say to the landlord that this call has been recorded for training and quality purposes, also to be used by us and our vetted independent agents and investors for the purposes of ascertaining the eligibility of your property to receive rent guarantee. Please make sure that any information you provide us with is accurate and correct to the best of your knowledge, because if it comes up at any point that the information you provide us with is inaccurate or incorrect, this could make your rent guarantee agreement null and void. And then we say, do you understand? And is that okay? And if they say yes, we say, let's begin. And that's when we get into our fact find. Now, if we don't get that information, if we don't say that statement and we get an agreement to that statement, we do not share the recording. So that's what allows us to be able to share the recording, because we get prior agreement and opt-in from the landlord. Is that it?
That is it. That is it. We're done.
Oh, this was like a good little session. I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope everybody got some great insight from it. Next week, what we're going to be talking about next week? What's next week's topic?
It's about the offer.
Woo! This is the one. This is where the rubber hits the road. This is the bit. See, when you get into this bit here, this is the bit where if you do this bit right, you will see more of your offers get agreed to. Okay? You do this bit right, you'll see more of your offers get agreed to and landlords wanting to work with you. This is the key reason why people quit the property game, because they put crappy offers out there, or they put offers out there and they have no explanation. They don't break down why this is their offer and stuff like that. If you understand this, if you understand how to create a superior, irresistible, and a no-brainer offer, yeah, this is what will change your business for you. So next week is going to be super important. You have to attend. Tell your friends to tell their friends. See you guys soon. You take care.
See you there, everyone. Have a great day.
Later.